tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to another edition of AfterBuzz TV's Spotlight On. I am your host, Alana Jordan, and joined by my amazing co-host, Demetri Panos.
Hello, everybody.
If you are a first-time listener or watcher, or if you just haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Also check us out on iTunes and on SoundCloud. We have wrap-up shows for more than 400 television shows, as well as amazing interviews with phenomenal people like we have here today. I'm so excited. We are joined by the amazingly multifaceted actress.
Oh my.
Phenomenal. Ms. Michele Specht, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having us. We're so excited. Excited.
We will continue, but we have to talk why we're here. This is a special AfterBuzz.
Well, yeah, and you'll see it'll be more
Yes.
apparent when you introduce your next
And then here we
guest.
go. The awesome guest.
And, of course, Star Trek fan favorite.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think she's the fan.
Many fan favorites,
well,
but
Chris
you're
Doohan.
Part of the
just-
legacy.
You are Chris Doohan. You are
That's
all of
very
the
kind of
fans
you,
love you.
Lassie.
You're a fan icon. And we are here for our very special Star Trek Continues Spotlight On. Be sure to send us any of your comments, your questions. We're going live right now, so send them in. We'll try to address you guys a little later on in the show as well. We also just love hearing back from you. So if you want to tweet at us too, please use the hashtag Spotlight On.
We could treat this as like a Star Trek convention. In a sense.
Tiny Star Trek.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah. So send in your questions. You don't have to raise your hands because you're home.
Sell overpriced
Just go
autographs.
ahead.
That's great.
Mine come free with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. Let's make this like a Star Trek convention, and this way you don't have to raise your hand. You won't be picked from the crowd. Ask away.
Yeah.
Cool.
We love everyone. So I have to say, speaking of loving someone, as we said, you are indeed fan icon, Chris. So much so that when J.J. Abrams was doing his Star Trek, there was a huge write-in campaign from fans saying
There
that they
was.
wanted either you or your twin brother
Exactly.
to play Scotty.
Yeah.
That.
God,
How
it
did
was
you
me.
find out about that? Because that ended up leading to you getting, because Simon Pegg, of course, played Scotty, but then you were in the movie, got the audition from that write-in
Oh,
campaign.
you don't want to know about that audition. It was terrible.
I do want to know about that audition.
Well, first, there was a huge writing campaign, and I didn't think that anybody at that level, J.J. Abrams, would have seen that, really. And it's just sort of rolled into this, and then I heard a couple of radio stations sort of talking about it. I said, wow, this is really going somewhere. And I was driving home from work one day, and I get a call on my phone. I have no idea how they got my phone, but it was a casting agent. And she says, would you like to be on the next Star Trek movie? I almost crashed, first off. And she says, well, we'd just like you to come in and do an interview. And I've never done any acting. I've never done anything of the sort. And it was not in my focus or at all. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll come in. So it was that was on a Friday. So they said, come on in on Monday. So I went on a Monday. I happened to have 102 fever.
Oh my gosh.
Sick as a dog. But I get to Paramount Studios, and I get to this casting office, and I see a bunch of people, and they're all much older than me. We're talking 70, 80 years old. And I thought, that's interesting. I don't know what part we're going for. And I was already told, no, we already casted Scotty. You're not going to be Scotty. And, but if you'd like to be in here and do something. Yeah. And so they gave me the side, and I looked at it, and it was, and that's what I was nervous about. I said, how much do I have to memorize it in the time I have? I had no idea what to expect. And so they gave me the side, and it was very simple stuff. It was just, captain on the bridge, that sort of thing. And I thought, okay, this
They basically wanted to know if you could speak English.
Basically. So anyway, my anxiety level started to go down. I said, okay, good. I got this. I think this is okay, right? And so about 5 minutes before they called me in, they said, Chris Doohan. I said, yeah. And they go, we gave you the wrong side. What? And they literally gave me something awesome. with several paragraphs of dialogue. And I was sweating. I'm sweating now just thinking about it. I didn't know what to do. So they literally called me, and I hadn't even read through half of it. Wow. Yeah, and I went in there, and I stumbled, and the two casting agents, just their eyes were so wide open, like, what the hell is he even doing here? And they didn't call me for quite a while.
Was there a character associated with this dialogue?
No, not really. And when they did call me up, they just said, we want you to come in. And basically, it was an extra sure. type thing, which was great. And and I got there, and the whole first day I was there, I hung out on the set, for probably 10 hours, and they never called me in. And I thought it was pretty much going to be a wrap. And then they called me in probably about 10 o'clock at night. Wow. To come in, and that's when they showed me where I was going to be, and I had no idea. Nobody told me anything, and so I walk in, and we're going past certain sets and everything, and this set was like sort of pushed into a corner, and all you saw was the back of it. And I walk in, and it's this beautiful transporter room. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in the transporter room. This is great. This is just what my dad did, right? This is just what my dad did, and so. Then I said, well, where do you want me to go? He goes, well, that's going to be your chair right there, and we're going to put Scotty in that chair. I thought, whoa, couldn't be better. So I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg anyway, so to get to meet Simon Pegg was just a thrill.
And you guys are like buddies now. You guys converse and chat. And how many of them were you in the Abrams movie?
Well, Abrams 2 now.
Okay.
I was in the very first Star Trek movie, 1979, as an extra.
Wow.
And so actually, there's a little trivia.
So you were in motion picture?
I was in motion picture. Yeah. So actually, Leonard Nimoy and myself are the only ones that were in the first and the last episodes of Star Trek.
See, I told you that this was going to be awesome. Wow. I told you his stories would be amazing.
Wow.
But since I'm on the J.J. Abrams thing, so when they were doing Star Trek Into Darkness, they had already started principal photography. They were already head on into it. I said, well, I guess I'm not going to be in it, but that's okay. I wasn't expecting to be. I thought this is just nice. And I get an email from Simon Pegg and says, hey, you know what? He goes, why don't you just come down to the set? We'll spend the day together. And we've been talking a lot in between the two movies. And he goes, you want to spend the day together? Yeah. He's a nice guy. You got to meet him. You'll fall in love with him.
After you're done, I have a Star Trek Simon Pegg story. Yeah, he was great. But go ahead. Finish this up.
So he said, let's come down. I said, that'd be great. I love that. And literally 5 minutes later, I got a text. He goes, you want to be in it instead? I said, okay, great. This is awesome. This is the greatest news ever. Right? But I never even got to see him when I was on set. But so when I went for the wardrobe and fittings and all that sort of stuff, and I get to the studio, and everything was different. When you're an extra, you just sort of find a corner in the big, huge studios to sit, And this time, they picked me up in a golf cart and I said, okay, that's weird. Okay, I didn't have to wander around the whole studio trying to find out where I have to go. So they brought me there. And they brought me to my own trailer with my name on it.
Oh my God!
I said, what? Right next to Simon Pegg's and Chris Pine's. And
are there tiny little holes in the walls of those trailers?
No,
that would just be if that was my trailer. I'm sorry.
And J.J. Abrams is very, he doesn't want people to know anything about what's going on. It's very secretive, right? I was taking pictures inside the trailer going, I hope nobody's watching me. It's inside the trailer, like I'm going to give something away, right? I was so afraid to blow this chance. And then, it was a great, I got to sit with the guys and eat meals and everything. And then they brought me into the studio right before we were about to film. And I see Chris Pine sitting on his chair playing with his iPhone, and Zachary Quinto in his chair on his iPhone, and there's this chair right in between. I mean, we're talking, there was a half an inch in between the chairs, and they go, that's your chair. There's no way I'm sitting in that chair. They probably don't even remember me, right? I was just going to sit down between them going, hi guys, what are you doing? What are you looking into on your iPhone? So to make a long story short, we filmed all day long. It was just a one-day thing, but we filmed all day long, and it was late. It was probably 9-ish, 9:30-ish, and literally we thought we were done. I did the transporter room scenes, obviously the one with Spock coming out of the volcano.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
And then they putting the smoke on him, and then him beaming down to go get Khan. course, I have no idea what's going on because no one tells me what the plot line is.
Nice.
And so, so I, and we're pretty much done, and they're actually picking up the transporter pads. I said, okay, yeah, we're done. That's cool. That was fun, right? And then J.J. Abrams comes up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "So you're ready? Ready for what?" He goes, "Your line. You want a line, don't you?" I went, "What?" I mean, I think that they planned that all along. Maybe they just didn't want me to be intimidated. I don't know. But so I said, sure. And it was, it was a very small little line. It was like, "Yes, sir," or something like that. And they're putting the microphones on me, and I'm getting all excited. And then JJ, I hear this, JJ goes, he's yelling out, Chris. And Chris Pine goes, "What?" And he goes, "No, Chris Doohan, shut up." And he comes up to me and he says, "I'm going to give you another line. So you're going to say this, this is going to happen, then you're going to say this." And I thought, this is great. This is really awesome. But it not like it was a very complicated line, but you know how it's how long it takes for you to set up?
Sure.
Right? I didn't write the line down. I can't see without my glasses.
The difference between multi-million-dollar productions and independent productions. Camera, lighting, everything,
So, the line was just, yes, sir, and I can't even remember the second line already.
There you go.
It's coordinates confirmed. Was all it was. Very simple. Coordinates confirmed, right? But after an hour setting up and I didn't write it down, I'm going, was it coordinates confirmed? Because I think it was just by the fly. I think he made those up as he was going along. And anyway, did it. It was a lot of fun, and
Did you get to partake of craft services?
I did.
Did they have shrimp?
The best part. The best part.
They had the best craft services ever.
I bet.
That was 90% of their budget, I'm sure.
That's why everyone works in film, though, right?
Yeah. We don't eat like that at home.
Yeah.
And I knew I was only filming one day, so I could eat whatever I wanted.
That's a great story.
That is incredible.
That is incredible. And you're right about Simon Pegg. I was at Comic-Con. I was working for Lionsgate at the time. We had a party at the top of the Hard Rock Hotel right across from the convention center, and all of a sudden a friend taps me and he goes, "Simon Pegg." I said, "What?" I said, "Ooh, wow, he got into this." I go, "That's great." And he was sitting far off to the side, and because I was there for the company, I try to have some air of professionalism, and he was talking to somebody, and he was there with Nick Frost. Okay, so you got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost together. And I went to my friend, I said, they were talking to a cocktail waitress, so she left, and I'm like, you know what? Screw professionalism. When am I ever going to have the opportunity to talk to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost? So I walked up to him, I said, "Hi, my name's Demetri, I work for Lionsgate. Business aside, Simon, you were amazing as Scotty." And this was like the year after the 2009 Star Trek had opened. Yeah. And he was like, and first thing he does is he nudges Nick Frost, and he's like, "See, I told you I was." He goes, and he told me that I shouldn't take the role. I don't like. No, it was great. And the both of them ended up talking. They had me sit down, half an hour. We were talking, and he was just the nicest guy, and we talked Star Trek, and it was great. I got to geek out, and I didn't care, hey, fire me if you think I'm being unprofessional, but I was like, I'm never going to get the opportunity.
I love talking Star Trek with anybody, but to sit down and talk Star Trek with Simon Pegg, come on.
Who loves Star Trek, and now he's writing
the new one.
That's so great.
And he's a supporter of our web series, Star Trek Continues. He's tweeted about it, and he's
been on stage at the Las Vegas convention.
On stage at the Las Vegas convention, he talks about it. Well, having his support and having people like Rod Roddenberry, who on multiple occasions, I know Tom Hanks.
I couldn't believe
just talk about it.
I couldn't believe Tom Hanks says Star Trek's back, and he was so excited about it. And that's a real endorsement.
That's huge. It's huge. It's huge for you
just to be able to relive your childhood dream, and then have so many other people, and people, not just people who grew up on the show and are fans themselves, like hardcore fans who really love the attention to detail, really love how crazy we are with finding the exact right button, the exact right lighting, the exact right fabric, all of that kind of stuff. They love it, but to have production professionals love it too is just awesome.
Yeah, and I want to we definitely want to get into fandom, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I also want to talk about, if you can, your insights on the genesis of this. How did you get involved? How were you brought in? How is their casting done? You're a new character that you're playing, correct?
I know.
And How did you get involved?
Well,
what
Star
happened?
Trek Continues, which if I don't even know if we've said that out loud. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Star Trek.
That's what we can do. We're talking about the fan produced, we should say that, a produced independent series, web series, Star Trek Continues. We literally have recreated and picked up exactly where the original series left off. We recreated the last 5 minutes of Turnabout Intruder, and when they go into the turbo lift, we just simply come out onto our bridge, where basically our goal is to finish the 4th and 5th season of the original series. So we're all crazy Star Trek fans, and they all happen to be also incredibly gifted production professionals, and a heck of a load of amazing volunteers who come together to do this.
It's really amazing.
No one's making a lot of money. No one's making any money on this. It's all independently funded, and it's all basically the brainchild of our exec producer, co-director, writer, editor,
fiance,
and Captain Kirk, Vic Mignogna.
It's good to be the captain.
Yeah, it is good to be the captain. Well, you know.
I haven't told anybody that he's my fiance in a long time.
It's all because of
He's
mine. I completely take ownership, but it's all because of Vic. It's the brainchild of Vic, and he, like so many people who watch and like our show, grew up on original series Star Trek. It basically affected exactly who he is today and why he does what he does. And as far as we're concerned, and I think a lot of the people who watch our show are concerned, original series Star Trek, at least in this country, kind of started that whole sci-fi off. The entire genre that we know and love is sci-fi. It was the first and the original. And even though Gene Roddenberry and later amalgamations got a chance to explore other Star Trek universes and other Star Trek worlds and stories, what we never got back was the original. And that's really what we go for. At every frame, every lighting, every close-up, every...
Meticulous.
Yes, meticulously recreated. Our sets are literally drawn from the original Desilu soundstage, inch by inch. So when you walk in, you are walking into the original soundstage of original Star Trek.
It's one of the things that I'm the most amazed about is that the attention to detail on this. Now, and again, not so much as to who's pressing what button. I'm just talking about the detail of the sets.
Yeah.
Also, Vic also has a hand in the music. I mean, the music cues come right from the Steiner cue, like right from the series cues. And there are episodes, all of them, Pilgrim of Eternity, Lulani, fairest of them all of the 3 that are online right now. I would think that somebody like Mark Daniels had directed them. I mean, because but it's true. I mean, the shots and the way that shots from that look as if they're from the top of the dome and the bridge, and the way that people are framed, I was just like, wow, they really took great care. Like, obviously they're fans, but they watched the show in such a detailed way that even the way that they framed the Troika, meaning Spock, Kirk, McCoy, it's, just quite amazing.
And those following shots, those action shots where you follow the action and continue. Everything. Every frame. And every frame of it honestly has Vic's kind of touch on it.
Sure. And we know Vic approves in certain things. When we're doing a scene, we did a scene and we were just doing episode 4, and I won't give it away, but we're doing it, and Vic just says after the take is, God, this is so Trek.
So Trek.
That's when we know. That's when we know we got something. It's like really great in the can.
Did you guys say that there was this one scene? Okay, so
Can I interject, Demetri?
Yeah.
We have a question from the chat because you guys are talking about how this is all crowdfunded and fan funded. Vince Gagliardi.
Hi, Vince. I know Vince. Hi, Vince.
He mentions your 2 guests are great to their fans on Twitter and great on STC. My question is, are they even surprised by the amount of money raised in their latest Kirk starter?
Are we surprised? Heck yes. Are we amazed? Yes. Are we eternally grateful?
Yes.
Heck yes. Yes.
In fact, this is our last day, but we have, I think, 20 hours left of our Kickstarter.
Dude,
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter 2.0.
Yeah, if we can push a little bit more today, we might even push out another episode.
That's
this is going to be funding 2 so far. It's going to get our planet set, and it's going to get
a new engineering set.
It's about time you guys got onto a planet.
He has been sleeping in a tent out in the corridor, and it is pathetic. So it is about time we gave Scotty place somewhere to like set up. It's ridiculous. So yes, number one, hi Vince.
That's awesome.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. You're right. We are in our last day of our Kickstarter. We're a completely nonprofit company. So every dollar that we raise goes directly into the production, and we just encourage people, if they haven't seen it before, and if they are fans of Trek, to go to StarTrekContinues.com. Check out the 3 episodes and vignettes, and Wired TV did a behind-the-scene documentary on us, a 5-part. You can find out all sorts of stuff about us and see how. Again, every dollar goes into making more Trek.
And it's great. And what I wanted to ask was, when you say that's such a Trek moment.
Yeah.
So Kirk, throughout the entire series, movies, always gets in a couple of scrapes. Okay. So outside of the roundhouse, there's always one signature Kirk move, which is the. And I started. I was like going. Okay, is this going to happen in this fight, or am I going to be disappointed?
I hope you're talking.
And then all of a sudden he jumps up, and it's the double barrel to the chest
Side kick.
And it's like, that's Trek.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, was that one of those moments for you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did they go, that is so Trek.
It was so fun to watch, too.
Yeah.
I loved watching them do it. And of course, they had this mattress down below. It's a whole setup. It was really well done.
And because of Vic, doing what he does, and for 20 years being the voice actor he is, and making event appearances at conventions, and he has such a immense fan following for that alone. He also is represented by the same event manager as a lot of like Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner and all the next gen folks. So he does events with a lot of these wonderful stars of other sci-fi genres and other just pop culture genres.
Right.
So that's how we get those guest stars that we have. That's
like
how we
Lou
got
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno to play our Orion slave trader, and we got to paint him green again, which was awesome. And Lolani.
And you had Apollo.
Yes, we had Jamie Bamber, who played Apollo in Battlestar Galactica. We had Aaron Gray.
Right.
Amazing.
Well, we had the gentleman who played Apollo.
Oh, correct. Michael Forrest reprised his role. Again, we had 2 Apollos in one episode.
Battlestar Galactica Apollo in.
2 Apollos for the price of one.
You were talking up Vic, but don't think that I'm going to let you get away without highlighting all of your accomplishments as well, because you are seen everywhere and heard everywhere as well. Video games. Stop. I love too, because I think a lot of people who watch VH1 probably remember you from I Hate My 30s, but as well, really targeting in on the fan-driven, fan-based, super enthusiastic fan base that you have for not only Star Trek, but you also did the fan series too, Aperture R&D.
Right.
And
Fallout Nuka Break.
Which hilarious.
I know.
You are every time
that show. They did such a good job.
Every time I hear you, I crack up watching that show because it's so good, and you have that great comedy background too.
Oh yeah, which is really fun. It's fun being on a such an iconic sci-fi show like Star Trek, such a well-beloved and well-established universe, coming from a comedic background, so I have to kind of temper myself a little bit, because I'm, I call myself.
She's our comic relief on the set.
I call myself. I usually do the waka waka parts. Like I literally, I'm the funny neighbor who comes in and is like waka waka waka.
Michelle and Chuck Huber.
And Todd Haberkorn. Yeah, so I call myself waka waka, but it's really neat to come from that background and do something so different, but be able to. I mean, there was a lot of fun and humor in original Trek.
Oh yeah,
we
absolutely.
see that in the relationships, especially between Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Uhura. We see that interplay, so it's fun to kind of interject a little bit of that. But that's so sweet of you. It is neat to play in this independent web series world of sci-fi in both original shows like Nuka Break and like Aperture R&D. I just did another one called Tugger the Ship. It's very a little blasphemous in the humor, but very funny. But then to kind of do this as well, it's neat to see so much independent production being done by people who just love the subject matter so much and do it well. And I think that's with our fan response. What we've seen from our supporters is they see how much we love what we're doing and have respect for the material.
Right.
So everything that we do is made with that in mind.
So how did you get involved first? Like, were you approached and said, hey, would you like to be part of Star Trek? And yeah, how did that all happen?
It's the brainchild of Vic.
Right.
Vic Mignogna wanted to do it. He was involved in some other independent fan series around original Trek and would do it, and every time would come back and go, I love the idea of this, but I really feel like we could do it better. It could be done better if we get not just people who love the material, but also our production professionals. Like, that's the difference. So about 3 years ago, he partnered up with some folks at Farragut, and you might know they do a web series called Farragut, and they had a beautiful Enterprise set and a couple other pieces in a smaller facility down in Georgia, and they were contemplating they were going to lose their space, so they're like, do we want to keep going? Do we want to break it down and put it in storage? What do we want to do? And Vic kind of said, after directing one of their episodes, said, hey, why don't we find a bigger space? I'll put up some money and we'll just build out the whole flipping thing. What do you think? And they were like, all right. So that's where it started. Star Trek Continues started from that, and they built out all of the sets with amazing volunteers. He put up a lot of the money. We started getting people together, and I don't think we really realized, like, he basically cornered Chris, who was like, I don't want to do this, and Vic is very persuasive.
He's very persuasive.
So wait, so is that true? You really were?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, he contacted me online through some of these social media sites, and he said that Chris, I want to talk to you about something, and so we went out to lunch, and he said, I want you to play Scotty in this, and again, I looked at other films, similar films, fan films like this, and I said, I just don't know if it's my cup of tea, really. And he promised me. He said the production values are going to be out of this world, literally. And he says, he goes, trust me. And and I said, we went back and forth, and I was worried. It was none of that. I was worried about doing the accent, also filling my father's shoes, and what would the fans think? You just don't know what to expect, right? Yeah. I could have done it, and they were just like, oh, what a idiot! Why did he do this? So I wasn't really sure how the fan response would be, but. Like you said, Vic's very convincing, and I said yes. But we started off with the vignette, Turnabout Intruder, which was nice. Right. And so sort of got my feet wet in that, and to see what the fan response was. The fan response was overwhelming. And I just said, I'm in. This is great.
And that's how we kind of approached everything. As you know, we have Grant Imahara from Mythbusters fame, who Vic knows from doing events with, and he kind of said, hey, Grant, what do you think about... want to play Sulu? And Grant was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, no convincing.
There was no talking.
I think Grant was hoping, because come on, ask me.
And so a lot of the casting came around with people that he knew also in the sci-fi genre and production professional world, and who were also huge fans, and kind of imported them that way, talked him into it. He's very convincing.
Yeah. No, and it's such a fun series to watch online, and you can pause it and look at, again, what I've done, in watching it too, it's just like I'll look at the various details of the bridge, the sounds. Again, I was most impressed with the music. The music cues and the direction cues.
That's Vic. Yeah.
Extremely, and it's just like picking up right from the original series. The other thing, sound design. If you listen to this show, and I've watched it on a computer, but the best way to watch the show is, I swear to God, with a set of headphones, because you hear, whenever there's an exterior shot of the Enterprise, the thrumming of the engines, and I was like, geez, they really took the time. Like, this is stuff that even in the original they didn't necessarily have going on so deep and full and rich and HD. The sound design is quite impressive.
That is awesome.
So, I have to say.
Yeah, so you can nerd out, basically. Yeah. If you're a huge Star Trek nerd, especially original series, you can totally nerd out and pause frames on every episode and go, oh my gosh, what are they doing?
And we're finding that rather than some of these other fan films that say, oh gosh, they didn't do this, and why did they do that? But they kind of pick us apart, but they say, oh my gosh, look at how great they did that, and that's how perfect they did that, and how canon this is. And it's really great. I mean, again, when I got into it, I had no idea. I mean, I had promises that the production value would be this great, but you never know. And it surpassed all my expectations. I mean, it's just amazing.
And I have a question that I think pertains to both of you. Chris, when you were taking on this role, did you feel that there was a lot of pressure that you might do a disservice to Dad? Like saying, I don't know if I'll be able to get this right?
Absolutely. Okay. And it was... for all the things I said before, too, to be quite honest, I was a little frightened to go into it. And I thought, I don't know if I really should do this. And the accent scared the heck out of me.
Sure.
I heard that you referenced Gerard Butler a lot.
I did. I was actually listening to
I think everyone should reference Gerard Butler.
It was a Howard Stern show, right? And Gerard was all like this. He's got a very strong throat. Like going, oh, so I'm taping it, right? I'm go taping. Going, that's okay. That's a great accent. So I had it, and I had it kind of down like that. I said, then I watched. I was sitting in my boat actually one Friday night. Like I'm going to watch a couple Netflix Star Treks, and I watched my dad and said, oh, well, I got to tone it down a lot. I had to tone it down a lot. I still try to go a little bit further than my dad did in some areas, with the accent, but slowly sort of pushing it in there.
I'm sort of surprised that from your dad, I would figure that it's somewhere in the genes. Your dad was a voiceover. He's great with voiceovers and characters, and he is credited in developing the Klingon language.
Right.
So with that, and even when you watch Star Trek the Animated Series, your dad, not only does he do Scotty, but he did multiple other characters in the same episode. Mm-hmm. So I would figure that
could do and I've done a couple voices for the animated Faraday episode, which was a lot of fun.
So I would figure, how long before you got comfortable? Like, how long did you say, you know what, I can do this, and this is, hey, Pops,
well,
thanks.
Actually, it was probably, seriously, after the first vignette, and I just sort of rolled into it, and now I'm not really even thinking about it. I'm just sort of, there's a couple words. Especially when doing episode 4, there were a couple words that I got propulsion. I couldn't, and one of the directors goes, I think you said propulsion. I said, yeah, I think I might have. You're right. I was just, so you have to work on getting some of these tongue twisters, and it would be nice to have a Scottish vocal coach,
to
help you with that.
And then the same question for you. Mm-hmm. You're a new character,
I know,
coming into this world, into this universe. Okay, following Turnabout Intruder, you're introduced. How did that make you feel? Like, was there any pressure in saying, okay, I'm somebody that nobody is familiar with?
Right.
How are they going to accept me?
Right.
And because
kind of pressure.
Yeah, and with social media being what it is, they could be, they could be instantly vicious.
Right.
So, how was it for you approaching this role?
Terrifying. It was terrible. It was, when you think about it. This is such a well-beloved, already established universe. It really is about the crew that you know and love, especially about Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and the relationship between them. So how do you go about bringing in a new character without her feeling like she was shoehorned in, that she was forced in there? So what I did was I kind of went back and rewatched what I knew about original series, and thought about Gene's, Mr. Roddenberry's vision, about what he wanted, and if they did have a chance to do a 4th and 5th season, would this fit? Yes. If so, what would she look like? So in my mind, we saw that what he got a chance to do in later subsequent series, like in TNG and other series with Deanna Troi and Dr. Crusher. We saw more prominent female roles in a similar kind of approach in those folks. So in my mind, I was thinking back to the first episode with Sally Kellerman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Exactly.
Sure.
So thinking about that kind of character that Gene introduced, very first off, as being the seed that he planted for that kind of female role, that was able to grow and blossom with people like Deanna Troi and Dr. Crusher later on, I think of my character, Dr. McKenna, as the bridge between those two.
Sure.
I don't think she's out of place. I do think that there is a voice that is... can really contribute something worthwhile within that, and not be something forced, can simply be something additional.
And she's hot.
Well, the fans definitely agree, because everyone talks about how much they love you.
Talk about Kickstarter. We have one of the rewards is a 30-minute Skype. Hers are selling like hotcakes. Right? I don't blame these guys. I'm sure it's all good.
Hair and makeup help. You know what I'm saying? When this was produced back in 1969, and we're doing 69, 70, the costumes help accentuate an actual lady.
The costumes, I have to say, I've seen the cosplay of you now. Is that not how you respond to that?
It is amazing. I can't imagine a more worthwhile and something that, what a compliment. What an absolute compliment to see.
We saw that at the Vegas Con.
Yeah, I saw 3 girls cosplaying as Dr. McKenna, and I lost my shit. Like, I lost my mind. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I love it too because you post all these photos.
Yeah.
So I have to say, if you guys aren't following the official Star Trek Facebook, you have to, because, and also Michelle's fan page, because that's how I just tune into. I live vicariously through all of your con experiences.
Oh, thanks. It is fun. Well, you too. You too. I mean, it's mutual. It's mutual fan love. Yeah, it's really it's neat to be in a role that I think people have responded so positively to.
Yeah.
And I think the best notes, number one, is having Rod Roddenberry's endorsement, not just about what we're doing or my character, about the whole entire show, and to have him state so publicly so many times how much he feels like his father would absolutely love what we're doing, and as far as he's concerned, he considers it TOS canon, which when he said that,
he's come to our premieres and actually stood up and talked to the audience.
I can't imagine any higher praise than that.
It's an official part of the canon now. There's it's undeniable.
It's that alone, having that kind of support is amazing.
Sure. I wanted to bring something because you had brought up costumes. And you were talking about getting fitted in the costumes, and there was a lot of talk in Star Trek Into Darkness that it was exploitive of women, and I've never really found Star Trek. I always felt like you. Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry put women in the forefront. In the Cage, the original pilot that never really aired, his soon-to-be wife, Majel Barrett, played number one. She was like the second in command, which hadn't been done before. And then through later years, you have people like Catherine Janeway, which is fantastic. But however, costuming, there was a scene in Into Darkness that a lot of people ripped on. And it's the scene where they're about to shuttle to a planet to figure out this torpedo thing. And Kirk and I always forget this actress's name. They go into a shuttle because she has to change into her space uniform. Yeah. And now it's Captain Kirk. So I always said, well, it's Captain Kirk. So, she's like, he has his back to her, and of course he's going to peek. And he peeks as she's changing, and she's like, what? And he's like, oh, excuse me. And I'm like,
very gratuitous.
Well, people said it was gratuitous. I'm like, well, did you ever watch the original series? Like, did you ever see some of the costumes in that original series? Like, they were practically wearing, they were just nothing but bikinis and some tights and whatever. I'm like, that was the original. And if Kirk was always going to take a look. That's just Captain Kirk. He's kisses. He's Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't comment really on the new Abrams. I just know we're staying very true.
Your costumes are so accurate.
The costumes are great.
We're just staying very true to the original series.
And what I love is it's not just the costumes, it's the props, it's the set, it's Doug Drexler.
That's a coup getting him. I mean,
it's insane. The man who's worked on all things Star Trek.
All things Star Trek.
The only one who can really say that.
Yes. You're right. Doug Drexler is not only a producer on our show, but he's our ship designer. It's his enterprise design. And he said the only way he would do this is if we're not trying to do anything other than classic original Trek. So anything that you see on our screen is something that would have been or could have been seen in the original series. So we're not trying to do big blow-em-ups and amazing special effects that were not appropriate for original Trek. We're going to show you beautiful original Trek worthy effects.
Yeah, and you also had Larry Nemecek, who played Bones for at least 2 episodes. And he's a gentleman that has been, I've met him various times at conventions. I've had it, I have an autographed compendium of his that he had written and such, and I was like, wow, getting him on, he must offer a lot of insight.
Very much so. Whenever we have like a Trek, so whenever we have a freak out, like, wait a minute, is this okay? We have to call up Larry. Larry's like, it's okay, this is how you resolve it. And this blah, 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 blah. So
but he's still on the set. I mean, he was on the set for the filming of the last episode too, and so it's nice to have him there. Although we do have a lot of Trek. I mean, Vic's he could recite half of every episode you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, a lot of people on that set could. It's kind of awesome.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't know if you want to start talking about fandom.
Yeah, well, a little bit. I kind of wanted to talk about, because this is so fan-oriented. Doug Drexler got started as a Star Trek fan and then took off his career. And then, you have this entire crew and cast that's made of Star Trek fans, that this is your real, true passion project, and then having now the Kickstarter 2.0, obviously the first one was incredibly successful. This one is even more successful, and you still have a couple days for that push, so just
One
put it
more.
out, guys.
One more, yeah.
Kickstarter 2.0. StarTrekContinues.com. Go check it out.
StarTrekContinues.com.
Our prizes, by the way, our award levels, amazing.
Yeah.
I want some of them. I'm gonna see what I can do.
Skype interview sounds pretty awesome. I'm just saying.
There's still a few left for their Skype interview.
We should contribute so that we can interview them again on Skype.
Yes! That's hysterical. I love it. So, but having that kind of fan-centered, when you go to cons, because I know that you've premiered all of your episodes at various cons, which I think is phenomenal and genius and probably much appreciated by all of your many fans that you have. And I know you were just at Gallifrey 1.
Yeah.
Premiering the most recent as well, which we'll talk about a little bit more of that, because I feel I have to, again, live vicariously through all of your con experiences, through you going to Australia, everything. But having that fan base, I'm sure you get some really intense people on both sides of the coin saying, this is so accurate, this is phenomenal, this is endorsed by everybody who is really attributed to the Star Trek genre in really any way, shape, or form. Everyone's just raving about how amazing it is. Do you get the other side, the kind of the...
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
I always call it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Sure.
With Star Trek.
And you know what? I mean, my dad lived with this most of his life, but you take the good with the bad and the ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all part of it's all part of that.
It is.
And it's all good.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think my dad learned early on that these fans, and my dad loved his fans. He really did. I mean, he would take them out to lunch and dinner and bars and all that stuff. And he says that it's just these people just have a passion for what they just love the show. And you know, he was one of those people. He would never ever not sign an autograph or shake a hand, no matter what. And so again, take the good and the bad with it. And it's I don't consider it bad. I mean, we've had some great fans. I mean, you know, some people want to talk. But why not?
Well, and I'll get into that.
I was going to say, speaking of fans, we have a fan question.
Yes.
That was just ushered to me. Quan Sam asked, Chris, how does it feel to know you will be in your dad's engine room?
It feels awesome. A matter of fact, when the Kickstarter passed that level where we knew we were going to get this engine room, and we're talking that 2-story engine room. I mean, that's a lot of construction, right? And that's a big budget type of thing to do, but extremely exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and you know, I'll probably have that same moment. I didn't really mention that when we did Turnabout Intruder, where we went into the turbo lift doors, and we opened up to the bridge.
Right.
And that's the first time I had really done a scene on the bridge, and all I did was walk to Scotty's station, and I had this strange feeling in me. I can't even explain what it was. You know, it was just a sort of a surreal moment that I was experiencing exactly what my dad was experiencing back then. Right? I was like, wow, this is weird. I mean, this is pretty much the same thing. And I think I'm going to have the same feeling with the engine room.
So long as it has that webbed, like the chain link fencing.
I can't even tell you how hard it was to find that and get it right.
I can imagine.
Yes, there are crazy people who look in like
we're not going to do a green scene. We're literally going to go 100 yards back and make it real.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding.
And you're 100 yards back, and you're going to have the ladder.
We're going to get little mini people to actually work on the set.
That's
hey, let's do it.
I'm so excited to see what you guys are gonna come up with. Every time that I watch it, that's the only criticism I have is I want more.
We want to make more.
I just want to watch everything all day.
That's why I'm hoping we can. Again, as you know, anybody who's run a fundraising program, it's a very large time and energy expenditure and financial expenditure to fulfill all of the award levels, to take the time and follow up with everybody and send everything off and do all that's necessary to create this site and update it and keep it going. It is a very time-consuming and energy-consuming thing, but we are incredibly grateful for those who have supported it and are continuing to support it today. It's through tonight, and it'll end tomorrow morning. And every dollar that we raise just means we can get back to work longer. It means we can produce more without having to do it again. So that's my most exciting aspect. The only thing I could wish for our show is that we could just do it, more of it on a grander and longer term scale. That's all.
That's our hope too, as fans.
So as soon as this interview ends, go immediately to the Kirsten.
Or multitask and go now. Do it on your eye while you're watching. Just go on.
Watch on your iPad and pledge on your iPhone.
Sure, why not? So, talking about the fans and Star Trek fans, my view. Okay, I've been a fan since I've been 5. Earliest memories of watching TV with my dad was watching Star Trek when it first went into syndication in the very early 70s.
Yeah.
So, and growing up with Star Trek, at first it was about the spaceships, the phasers, communicators, and I'm not gonna lie, it was the women in the skirts, tights, and boots and everything, and it was the adventure. And when you talk about like cosplay as an actual word today, in the early 70s, it really wasn't. But I had a phaser communicator tricorder, and my friends and I, instead of cowboys and Indians or playing army men, we would do Star Trek. And and this was before cosplay was ever a word. So this is what we were doing in our backyards, pretending that we were beaming to other planets and meeting Earth, right?
Yeah.
So, and that must have been
my
a different
dad's uniform.
I was going to say.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
You can't even talk.
that's not. You know what? That's not fair. That's really not fair. That's really
Wait till he tells you about the real story during the Trouble with Tribbles episode when he and his brother on set what they did. Real story. I'll make you. Yeah. So it's not fair.
But Star Trek fandom, as you grow older, then Star Trek, and there's some schooling and some education involved, and you start getting into the philosophies, the social messages that Star Trek has. So then it becomes a different show. Not that I still don't like the women in the costumes and Captain Kirk's adventures and the phasers,
fights.
Right.
But there's also, religious elements, philosophy elements, social interest elements that still resonate as much today as they did back in the 60s.
Absolutely.
And, as a fan and watching it, there's a lot of time investment if you're a Star Trek fan. I always say there's a difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Wars is basically 6 movies now.
Right.
Okay? That's easy to ingest. You can watch 6 movies, knock that out of the park. With Star Trek, you have the original series, then Next Gen, all the episodes, the animated, you're talking hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds.
Sure.
And, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, and you really are a true Star Trek fan, I always found, what I say about the good, there's us right here, right? There's a passion for the show. You want to do right by the fans. The bad are the ones that feel that they know better. They're the ones that feel that, they want to be overcritical about something. Like they'll even he pressed the wrong button. That's to me silly. The ugly to and then the ugly to me are those who are on social media attacking people or who go to a convention. I've been to conventions where Brennan Braga was booed, and I'm like, this is the guy that because of him you still have Star Trek. Like, aren't you happy to still have Star Trek on TV?
Right.
And I remember meeting Brennan Braga once and going, hey man, I just want you to know I love Star Trek and I love what you do. And it was almost like a weight lifted off his shoulders. Like he's like, thank you so much. I really thought, I'm like, no, listen, but I sometimes feel that fandom can almost get in the way of progression.
Sure.
Change Bond. I mean, if Sony listened to the fans, Daniel Craig would not be James Bond.
Right.
So you must get a lot of all of that.
Well, what I find it so fascinating when you're talking about the bad and the ugly, what I find so fascinating about it, especially in the world of Trek, is that behavior and those points of view and that tendency to be elitist, to tear down, to critique and nitpick is so not Star Trek.
No, exactly.
That's what feels so wrong and makes me feel sad for not sad that it's happening, because it's just going to happen regardless, but like sad for the folks engaging in it, because I feel like I understand. I don't know what part of Star Trek you're a fan of, but I think you're missing out on the biggest piece of it.
Yeah.
Any kind of behavior like that, you're missing the main point of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to have that kind of, that's why it's so easy, I think, to kind of not really kind of adhere, or that kind of rolls off a lot.
Sure.
And in me at least, engenders feelings of, oh gosh, what's going on with that person?
Yeah.
Like, I really kind of wonder what's going on with that
most
person.
of the con experiences that you have are positive, because, as you were saying, there are such diehard fans.
99.9%.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
99.9.
recently at Gallifrey, which we also have our Whovians, of course.
Oh, yes.
Another very passionate group, because
They are.
They're awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes.
but I do have to steal a little bit of Gallifrey's thunder. We had a very awesome announcement of who's going to be in episode 4.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. We showed a little teaser video, too. So we were at Gallifrey one yesterday screening our third episode, Fairest of Them All, which is a follow-up.
A Mirror Universe. Actually, my favorite.
Yeah. Do you love that one?
That's, of the 3, that one is my favorite. I actually
4 awards so far on it.
Yeah. I know.
I like Lolani personally. I love
Lolani. So we premiered a little snippet of, and we've announced it on our Facebook page before, but Colin Baker, literally a doctor, one of the doctors, is in our episode 4, and he came down and had a ball. We had so much fun with him. He was such a wonderful gentleman and just a lovely human being, and was so excited to be sitting on, he was sitting like in the captain's chair, and he was like, this is crazy. Who could turn this down? So we were so excited to have him.
Being at a Who convention, was there, it's funny, because I've been to Star Trek conventions, I've been to Star Wars conventions, and in some cases, heaven forbid, it's like going to it's like if you went to Fenway Park and wore a Yankees jersey. Right. It's like if you walked into a Star Trek convention and I wore my Captain Kirk pajamas or something, the Star Wars fans would be like, you suck, or whatever. Like, there is a strange, I'm telling you,
very different from
No. I've been, there's always been which one's better, Star Wars or Star Trek? That's always happened. I'm not making this up. Right. But when you're at a Who convention, again, Doctor Who, we're talking 50 years science fiction legacy.
I love Doctor Who.
So I have to, and their fans are very passionate as well, and they've been passionate for a long time, and they've had to go through even more changes than Star Trek, through the various doctors. How did you feel doing your panel at a Doctor Who convention? How well accepted were you, and the fandom over there? How do you find a difference being at a Doctor Who convention outside of the obvious? A Doctor Who and a Star Trek convention are different. Right. But what did you feel? How were your feelings at the Doctor Who convention?
A lot of these people we talked to, there's sort of a crossover. Where they're not just Doctor Who fans. I mean, the people that came to see us, obviously, they're Star Trek fans as well. And when we polled the audience, a lot of people had already seen some of our episodes of Star Trek Continues, but a lot haven't. And so they just came in there because they just heard Star Trek, Doctor Who, and of course we gave them the teaser about Colin. Yeah. It's got to stay till the end of this episode to watch it. Just get our little teaser, which nobody's seen before. But what do you?
The reception was amazing. Number one, that's an incredible convention. If you guys haven't had a chance to go to it, next year go, because the people who run it are amazing. Gentleman Sean, and I'm so sorry, Sean, I'm forgetting your last name, but he who runs it. It's incredibly well run, amazing staff, and really great people. The fans were awesome. I think. I don't know, maybe it's just me and the way I look at people and the world, but I'm just so excited. I'm excited about fandom. I'm excited to get excited about what you're passionate about. I love it. Yeah. I know what I'm excited about and passionate about. Sure. I love hearing what other people are, and it was very easy for me, and I felt for us, the reception was awesome. People were very excited to hear about it. There were several people there who knew everything about it, our show, and were like asking very specific questions about what's coming up, and so I did not feel, it was seamless for for me. And I don't know. I love fandom. I think there's room in the world for all of it.
It doesn't seem to be any different than us going to a Comic-Con or a Star Trek convention.
And another pop culture convention.
Your show in particular, and part of why I love it so much is because you do bring in very identifiable people who have been in very identifiable roles. You're watching and you go, oh my gosh, it's Leonardo Apollo's there with Apollo. And you have that geek out moment, and then now you're bringing in a doctor. So then you have all of these different elements. Lou Ferrigno.
I know.
Because it makes you think, who we're going to get next?
I feel like it's
Tom Hanks, come on, baby.
You're a science fiction cornucopia of fandom, which is, again, which I think is fantastic. And again, growing up in the early 70s and such, my show and tell was bringing in my model of the Enterprise.
Sure.
That was it. But I know what it's also like being, the geek or the nerd. Like, people are like, Star Trek, what the heck is that all about? But
that's not so much.
It's changed. I think the culture has changed somewhat. Like geeks are more accepted today. But I do find, but I do find that there, again, my car, you can see right out here, my license plate is Trek Boy. And I was at Disneyland.
You're adorable.
That's debatable in a lot of circles, but thank you. I'll take it. That's awesome. And I remember I was at Disneyland and came back to my car. It was with a friend of mine. And there was a note on my car. It said, "Trek sucks, Luke Skywalker." What? And I was like, wow.
Star Trek.
It was like the funniest thing ever. I was like,
for folks.
It was just like,
your world is that small.
You got to be joking.
Creation Con in Vegas.
Oh, I know Aaron Ferry's good friend. Yes, I've gone to that.
Last year, they had 3 or 4 8-foot Ewoks or whatever you call those guys. Not Ewok.
Stormtroopers.
No. Hairy guys.
Oh, Tauntauns. Who?
Chewbacca.
Yeah. I had to make the noise. You're about to make the noise. I know you. There you go. But anyway, they were interacting with the Star Trek fans, and people were taking pictures with them. It seemed to be, they were having fun being there. Even though it's a Star Trek.
They do an amazing job with that convention. And I remember they used to have it in Pasadena. And it was the Grand Slam, and I knew about that convention all the way in Boston. Wow. So when I first moved out here, I was like, I got to go to this. I got to go to the Grand Slam Star Trek convention. And I remember,
they changed it.
And when they moved to Vegas, I was part of it when I was at Lionsgate. The first movie I worked with was Shadow of a Vampire, and I called up Aaron Ferries, who does a lot of the licensing for the he works for Creation, and I said, hey, I work for Lionsgate. We have a movie that's like genre related. I'd love to be able to give some stuff away if that's okay. And he's like, oh, come on down, bring it up. And I got to know him, and just like we got Bill Paxton on, and Bill Paxton was a guy when he was about to go on, and about the day before he got cold feet. He's like, what am I doing at a Star Trek convention? And we're like, what do you mean? What are you doing? You're going to talk about your movie Frailty. But dude, you're in a loving crowd. Like, these people love you.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. And he almost bailed. And we're like, look, you're
Did he
talking
have a ball?
to
Tell me. Did he have a ball?
He stayed on stage for an hour and a half. They couldn't get him to shut up. Yeah. It's like, dude, you were in Aliens, Weird Science, The Terminator. Like you work with James Cameron.
Yeah.
I'm like, these people love you already. So
Star
being
Trek
that
or not.
you're not talking Star Trek, they're
There's
going to
room
love
for all
you.
of it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Chris, we had a question from one of our viewers. Wanted to know, did your father ever teach you any different dialects?
Ooh. You know what? He never actually taught me, but he would practice. So I would hear him practice different dialects. And again, he tried out many different accents for Scotty before there was a name Scotty, obviously. And he did a German accent.
Really?
He did an English accent.
Wait a minute. They did not have it settled that he was going to be.
No.
What?
And then he went through the gambit. He did all these accents. And then he said to Gene, he says, you know what? He goes, the Scotsmen have some of the best engineers, and so I really should be a Scot. And they said, you're right. And so that's how Scotty came.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
I didn't know that either. How did I know? That's amazing.
No, I completely made it up.
I do have. Oh, do you have another? Do we have another fan question?
I was going to say, before we go, because we need to start wrapping up pretty soon. I wish we could talk all day long.
I do have one question from the original series that I have to throw out to you, Chris. So, I'm not like breaking in, like, there's no secret. Your dad and William Shatner did not get along. Okay, this is what I've read. I read it somewhere, and I wanted to know a couple of things. Number one, was there any ever spillover? Did your dad ever come home either from the show or a movie going, "That son of a bitch"? Like, it was so difficult. Did you ever any of that?
Kind of, but there were little things. Mostly when I was older, I didn't really notice those things when I was, in my early teens and whatnot. But I have to just tell you this one thing, because they didn't like each other for obvious reasons. A lot of the cast didn't like William Shatner for whatever reason. And we were at the premiere of the episode, and I think it's the one he directed, where he's climbing Half Dome in Yosemite.
Oh yeah, we're talking the Final Frontier.
Final Frontier.
Yeah, they go find God.
Yeah, so you see it from a distance. You see this, and so William Shatner is sitting directly behind us. My dad and George Takei, and I think Michelle were here, and my wife is sitting next to me, and so we see that scene, and it's closing in on who is actually climbing Half Dome, in Yosemite, and it gets up to the point where you see, and it's William Shatner. He turns around, and it's complete silence, and my wife goes, "Oh, right," like he would do that, right? And my dad afterwards just goes, "That was just the best thing ever." Put him in his place, because he heard it. He had to hear it. He was right behind us.
Now, for authenticity, do you strike up Discord with Vic just to have it like?
No. I love Vic. Get along with him really well. That's one thing about this. We all get along with everybody.
Oh my gosh, it's like a family. Seriously, it's ridiculous. We look forward to seeing each other so much. They're our family. They're family. And when we're done shooting, we're so tight now as a production crew. We start shooting in the morning. We'll finish usually by 6. We all go out to dinner together. Then, when we finish, it's not over. Like, we all go out to dinner together, and then a lot of us with our amazing volunteers will sit in lobbies and play board games or watch movies, or we have screenings in the sets in our other room of our in the other side of the building of our sets. We have like pizza parties. We literally hang out until maybe midnight 1, and then go to bed.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that you had Thanksgiving with Lou Ferrigno, too, because we were going to hang out for Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. And you guys, I don't think I'm going to make it. I think I might go to Lou Ferrigno's house.
It was amazing, by the way. How much fun was that to have Thanksgiving with he and his amazing wife, Carla, and their awesome kids in their home in Santa Monica. They were so generous. They just, invited us over. We had a ball.
Sure.
Absolute ball.
Absolutely.
Big family.
I love the camaraderie. I love the crossover. I just love all that.
Michael Forrest was in the one episode. We go out with him all the time.
Oh, all the time. We still hang out with Michael Forrest. Yeah, and his awesome wife. We just hang out.
Favorite episode of the original series?
The original series, Enterprise Incident.
Oh, that's a great episode. Yeah, sure.
I like Foley and Webb, but I'm going to say I'm a Tribbles fan.
Yeah,
I just love Tribbles always.
How about you? Favorite episode?
I got it. Mirror, Tribbles. It's Tribbles, yeah.
High five across the table.
Which, real quick, I want to just toss back to you and your brother get into trouble with Tribbles, ironically enough.
Okay, I know we're running out of time. Okay, but we would go to the set occasionally. My dad invited us to the set when they were doing Trouble with Tribbles. And so we would, when my dad was filming, we would either wait in his dressing room, or we go play in the shuttlecraft, right? Nice. The original shuttlecraft, which was in our in the last episode, by the way, which is kind of
yes, we had the original Galileo that he played around in as a child. Was in our episode Ferris at the Mall, so you see that originally restored.
So my dad put us in there. He says, "You guys stayed here." I mean, he was very strict. Do not move, do not leave. Different time back then. Now you'd have somebody watching your kids. Right? So, but we of course, we wanted to get out, and we're going through the studio, and we're going down these hallways, and we're investigating things, and pulling on drawers, and looking under things. And if you remember the scene where Captain Kirk pulls open that, basically the cabinet, the overhead thing, Tribbles fall on, we had to open it up. So my brother
Did you know what was in there? You just wanted to open it?
Of course not. No, we were opening everything. So my brother got on my shoulders and opened it up. They fell on us. We freaked out. First off, we were scared. We didn't know what the hell they were. There's these furry little things all over us. We eventually got several of them and took them home. But we freaked out. We ran back as fast as we could back to the shuttlecraft. And maybe 2 to 3 minutes later, my dad came back. He looked at it and he says, "Oh, you guys are such good boys." And just to top it off, so I said something to my dad. I told my dad about that probably 30 years later, and he actually got mad at me.
What?
30 years later. That tells you something.
You little
So you've grown up with Star Trek, so you should be very well versed in it. I'm going to put you guys on the spot here. We're going to play a quick little game before we wrap up.
Okay.
Called Trek or Trash. So I'm going to tell you a fact, and you're going to say, is this real Star Trek? Is it a real fact?
I'm not good
or
with
is it
this.
total garbage?
It's gonna be awful.
We'll take it.
You can talk amongst yourselves and figure out.
Can I phone a friend and call back? Or Larry Nemechek.
Okay, so the oft-referred element selenium that has made an appearance throughout various Star Trek episodes, is that a real element found on the periodic table under the metalloid section? Is it a real metalloid element? Selenium.
I would say that all the elements would have been discovered at that point and or been discovered prior to that, so yes.
No, the word selenium is actually spelled SSELGNINAEM. It's the word meaningless backwards. The Star Trek writers
I'm so glad
came
you
up with
answered that one and not me.
I didn't
Now
expect
he's
to
going to
say
go
that.
for
Shout out to
selenium
Lee
and grill.
Shackelford,
It was
the
a
writer for
50
Star Trek
50-50.
Next Generation, who told me that one.
Awesome.
So thank you. You made me look like I
Thank
know
you,
more.
Lee.
Thanks, Lee. So yeah, so selenium is the word meaningless
Vic would have got
backwards.
that.
That is hysterical.
You would just know.
Vic would,
And
of course
Larry.
would. And Larry. Of course they would.
So there was the infamous writer strike in 1988
Right.
that ended up cutting the series short from the intended 26 episodes down to 22. There was also a lot
We're
of
talking about Next Gen, right?
no, we were talking about the original.
Oh.
Or I'm sorry, not 1988. Yeah. The next gen.
Right.
They're saying that they took scripts that were discarded from the original series and updated them, as well as other scripts that were made for Star Trek Phase 2, and used those abandoned scripts instead to fill in. Is that true or is that false?
Oh, geez,
For over 10 episodes. They said that it was done for 10 of the 22. True or false?
Can I look at my iPhone really quick?
I know.
Google that.
This is my iPad.
GTS. I have no idea.
Track or trash? It's 50-50.
Man!
50, just pick one.
Somebody call in and tell us. Trick or oh, crap.
Trick or treat.
Trek? Trash. There was actually only 2 episodes.
2. Okay,
that
well,
were
see,
based,
but it
and
did
they
happen.
were loosely based, and that's what actually spawned doing the Shades of Grey clip show. Was
We
so
are
they could go
pathetic
back
Trek
That was always
and instead
No,
of
we're
having
Trek fans.
new
We aren't
written ones.
Trek production fans. There's a difference.
These are Trek facts.
Yeah.
So these are getting really nitty gritty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the third and final.
You're asking like the 2 worst people on our cast and production crew.
Truthfully,
It's
yeah.
true.
And you call
Do
yourselves
not
a
let us be a
fan.
representative of Star Trek Continues because we're the worst, which is
You're
kind of
the
funny.
best.
No, we're the
No,
worst for this
you're the
kind of
best.
stuff. We're
Nah.
the worst.
No,
Okay,
Trek
go ahead.
trivia is not our thing.
You make the show we love, and that's really what we care about more than do you know this ridiculous
Okay.
fact. But I want to know if you know this ridiculous fact.
Okay.
So Leonard Nimoy actually is the one who invented the Vulcan salute, and it was based on a priestly blessing, a Jewish blessing.
Yeah.
Fact.
No, that's Trek.
That's Trek 100%.
Yeah.
See, you
Absolutely.
got one. Boom.
Yeah. Ask me Nimoy a question.
I'd actually heard that one before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Right.
100%. So, unfortunately,
I have one question. real quick.
Oh
You guys
my.
can't see me. I'm the voice of reason from the booth or whatever. So,
Do say
a
machine.
lot of people from the original Star Trek, they all took home a prop, which some people took like a botleth, the Klingon sword, some people took a tribble, some people took a phaser and things like that. When you whenever it comes to the end of this show that you're doing, Star Trek Continues, what is the one prop you guys want to take with you?
Oh man.
The
Is
bridge.
space an issue? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The whole
Is
bridge.
space an issue? From our set? Oh man.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Now you talk. I guess you're talking about a smaller, more something we could pack in our suitcase.
There are special lenses like old school production lenses that actually make up the transporter pad, what you stand on. What are they called? The and I wish Vic was here. There are people out there screaming at their screens right now, iPhones or whatever.
The pads.
Ring in. It's excuse me. It's a certain kind of lens. It's a something lens that's what we stand on. We have those. We bought a couple of the original and then made resin casts of them.
Awesome.
I would like to take some of those.
That's cool.
And like literally make artwork out of them.
That's cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think I'd like the transporter room station, just the where you beam things up. I think that would be really fun because I could fit that in my house.
Yeah. Or
The bridge would be better, but I can't fit that.
Right, I know. The meticulously
captain's
recreated.
chair.
Yeah, the captain's chair. We've these meticulously recreated props that were in the captain's quarters, like this Aztec statue. These other statues that we literally had made, like found it. Those would be cool.
I just thought of how many phasers do you folks have? It was notoriously known in the original series that there was like 2 to 3, and hence came the Type 1 phaser, and that they had to, they had to like. How many do you folks?
We have several. Some were donated to us recently.
Nice.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you look at the vignettes. On StarTrekContinues.com. Remember that Kickstarter, guys? StarTrekContinues.com. Look at there's a little vignette called "Happy Birthday, Scotty."
Yeah.
Which is then you'll see how many phasers we actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. Well, thank you so much
Thank you
for
guys.
being
It's
here.
fun.
We've had an absolute blast hanging out with you guys and talking with you guys. For those of you at home, make sure that you do subscribe to our YouTube channel at AfterBuzz. At YouTube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Check out all of our wrap-up shows as well as our various spotlight-ons. Check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud as well by searching AfterBuzz TV, and definitely go to the Star Trek Continues website.
I thought you said no man as well.
And also, there you go.
We're no one. And I have to say thank you to the AfterBuzz. I'm part of Anatomy of a Movie. Phil, Alana, you had me as a guest here. This was a great way to spend my
I
Sunday.
don't know if you're really kind of a fan.
You're right.
I couldn't tell that you were a fan of Trek.
I know.
So yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Thank
Sorry.
you so much.
It was a lot of
No,
fun.
you guys
It
are
was so
great.
much for having
Thank
us on.
you.
And for anybody who watches and listens, thank you.
And live long and tweet us. Hashtag Spotlight on. And also, you can find me on Twitter at Elena Jordan.
I'm at DMovies1701.
I'm at Michele Specht. That's it. So I just wanted to make it sound
Chris
interesting.
Doohan. That's all. There you go.
So tweet us, and of course, follow the Star Trek Continues on Twitter as well.
Yeah, official Star Trek Continues is our Facebook page, and then we have Trek Continues on Twitter. Come see us. Hang out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.